Iran has reaffirmed that the United States should follow its obligations to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran also warned against possible U.S. military involvement, dismissing Washington's claims that mines have been cleared from the critical waterway. Canada has announced counter tariffs of up to 50% on American goods in retaliation for the latest round of tariffs imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Trump added to tension, saying his administration is considering changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America. South Korea's business sentiment this month rose to its highest level in nearly 4 years. This was led by steady confidence in manufacturing and stronger conditions in the service sector. Hello and welcome to our noon edition of Arirang News. As the conflict between the United States and Iran continues, Tehran has laid out conditions for opening the Strait of Hormuz, in addition to Washington fully restoring its obligations in a previous MOU. Our An Sung-jin starts us off.
Iran has reaffirmed that it will not take any steps to reopen the Strait of Hormuz unless the United States first adheres to a previous MOU. Iran's deputy foreign minister told its state media IRIB on Tuesday local time that Washington must fully restore the obligations it violated before Iran opens the strategic waterway. He blamed the U.S. for the current closure and put forth 3 additional conditions before normal shipping can resume through the strait: an end to fighting on all fronts, an end to the blockade, and a resolution to the situation in Yemen. The deputy minister also warned against possible U.S. military involvement, dismissing any claims from the U.S. that mines had been cleared from the strait. These comments came after U.S. President Donald Trump stated on the same day through a social media post that the U.S. Navy had reported that all mines in the international waters of the Strait of Hormuz had been removed or detonated. Trump in the same post also noted that Iran has been notified that any vessel laying new mines would be immediately destroyed. Meanwhile, Russia's state-run news agency RIA Novosti reported that Washington and Tehran had reached a ceasefire agreement that included free navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. The report, citing Pakistani military and Iranian security sources, said that the agreement could be announced within days, but provided no details and did not independently verify the claims. As tensions continue between Washington and Tehran, the opening of one of the most strategically important shipping routes still remains severely disrupted by the geopolitical standoff. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, Canada is striking back at the United States with retaliatory tariffs on about $20 billion worth of American goods. The move matches Washington's latest duties dollar for dollar as the trade fight between the two neighbors intensifies. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Canada is hitting back at the United States with a new round of retaliatory tariffs, escalating the trade fight between the two countries. Ottawa announced Tuesday that it will impose tariffs on about $20 billion worth of American goods, matching Washington's latest duties dollar for dollar. The Canadian counter tariffs take effect on September 8th and will cover around 700 products with rates of 15%, 25%, and 50%.
Today I'm announcing that Canada will match the United States tariffs dollar for dollar, rate for rate. Effective September 8, Canada will impose counter tariffs of up to 15%, 25%, or 50% on $27.6 billion in imports from the United States of America. For each product, our tariff would match the American tariff on the same type of Canadian good.
The move comes after U.S. President Donald Trump's new 50% tariffs on about $20 billion worth of Canadian imports took effect on Saturday, following the collapse of trade talks. Canada says it will place 50% tariffs on products including steel, aluminum, furniture, and clothing. Cheese, appliances, and some seafood will face 25% duties, while electronics and tools will be hit with 15% tariffs. The measures cover goods accounting for nearly 4.5% of Canada's total imports from the United States. Canadian Industry Minister Melanie Joly says the tariffs are designed mainly to protect Canadian businesses and workers, while also increasing political pressure on Washington ahead of the November 3rd U.S. midterm elections. The Canadian government is also rolling out additional support for companies and workers affected by the widening trade dispute. Meanwhile, President Trump added another layer to the tensions Tuesday, saying his administration is considering changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America. In a post on Truth Social on Tuesday, Trump said the United States is giving serious consideration to the change because it does not expect to do much business with Ontario in the future. The comment echoes Trump's previous move to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
President Trump's recent overture to North Korea has raised questions over how closely Washington is coordinating with Seoul. A senior U.S. security expert says alliance diplomacy must come first, including a Trump-E summit. Our Oh Soo-young reports.
US President Donald Trump should meet President Lee Jae-myung before sitting down again with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and send Secretary of State Marco Rubio to Seoul immediately. That's according to the Vice Chairman of the America First Policy Institute and former White House National Security Council Chief of Staff Fred Fleitz speaking with Arirang News.
Secretary Rubio needs to go to South Korea immediately and speak with the South Korean government to understand the situation and the success in our bilateral relations and how we can cooperate in dealing with North Korea.
In a recent article, Fleitz set out steps Washington should take before re-engaging Pyongyang. This follows Trump's surprise decision to cut the Uji Freedom Shield joint exercise from 11 days to 5 and reduce field training, raising concern in Seoul and Washington over alliance coordination.
The president's decision to partially roll back the joint exercises was a surprise, but it's worth noting that the U.S. has done this before on at least 3 occasions, the George H.W. Bush, the Clinton, and the Trump administration, while negotiations with North Korea were underway. The challenge with North Korea is much more difficult than during Trump's first term because of this Kim-Putin relationship. So, there's a lot to do here, and I think consultations with our allies is the most important first step.
Fleitz's article also proposes appointing a dedicated North Korea envoy and strengthening coordination with Japan and other regional partners. He also raised the need to clear obstacles to cooperation in nuclear-powered submarines, civilian uranium enrichment, and spent fuel reprocessing.
We also have to send our secretaries of commerce and energy to South Korea because, we have some issues in trade and our energy negotiations. I think President Trump has to talk to the U.S. government to find out why aren't we doing more to get these relationships, getting these agreements through.
Addressing Trump's criticism of Seoul's non-participation in the Iran war, Fleitz contrasted South Korea's response with European allies that denied Washington access to bases.
South Korea under President Lee has an extraordinary record in cooperating with the United States on security and trade matters. And whatever concerns the president has with South Korea not getting involved in the war in Iran, and many of our allies didn't get involved, this extraordinary record, I think, covers South Korea quite well.
Amid concerns over alliance strains, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun and Secretary Rubio in a phone call on Monday agreed to coordinate closely on North Korea, tariffs, investments and security, and meet soon for further talks. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Here in South Korea, business sentiment rose to its highest level in nearly 4 years in August, helped by steady confidence in manufacturing and stronger conditions in the service sector. According to the Bank of Korea this morning, the composite business sentiment index for all industries climbed 1.1 points from July to 99.6. That's the highest reading since September 2022, when the index stood at 102. The central bank says sentiment improved in non-manufacturing industries during the peak summer vacation season, particularly in transportation and leisure, as well as broadcasting and film. The CBSI is an economic indicator that measures confidence in a nation's business sector, with a reading below 100 indicating that pessimists outnumber optimists. Food and dining out prices in Korea are soaring at a pace that's being felt by average households. Workers especially are feeling the pinch, with some popular cheap lunchtime staples increasing beyond the rate of inflation. Our Park Jun-an has the details.
For people looking to grab something quick to eat on the go, kimbap is known for being filling and, most importantly, cheap.
But that reputation is changing. According to the Korea Consumer Agency, the average price of a single roll of kimbap in Seoul hit 3,869 won, or around $2.80 in July. That is a 6.8% jump from a year earlier, easily outpacing the country's inflation rate. So, when compared to Korea's minimum wage, 10,321, the price of kimbap isn't really that low. Another popular food, samgyetang, a traditional chicken soup, is now over 18,000 won a bowl, almost double the nation's minimum hourly wage. This so-called lunchflation is being felt by workers.
Yeouido is known for having some of the highest lunch prices in Korea, so I think we feel the impact more than most people. When I need to have lunch, I try to eat at the company cafeteria as much as possible. And when buying something, I usually search for the lowest price I can find.
As food prices continue to climb, the purchasing power of cash in our wallets is steadily shrinking. And this leads to an increase in the share of household spending on food. In 2025, the proportion of household spending on food went up to 30.3%, crossing the 30% mark for the first time in 31 years. An expert pointed to two factors: the rise in prices relative to wages, and consumers spending more on desserts and drinks.
Rising prices are largely driven by various external factors, such as higher raw material costs, so there will continue to be pressure on food prices. Since people cannot cut food spending indefinitely, they may have to eat out less often or choose cheaper options.
While it is impossible to control external factors, the government said it will continue expanding direct price discount programs for agricultural products and releasing government stockpiles to ease the burden on consumers. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Korea's leading science institute, KAIST, is setting a fresh direction with a change in leadership. The institution's new president sat down with Arirang News to share his vision for the post-AI era. Our Kim Jun-ong has a story.
Strong fundamentals. That's the vision laid out by KAIST President Bae Chung-sik, who assumed this position early this month. Korea's leading science and technology institute is to redesign its classrooms with artificial intelligence at the core to gear up for the post-AI era. For Bae, it starts by redefining education.
The days of simply passing on knowledge through lectures are over. KAIST will lead educational reform through AX, or AI-driven transformation. We'll group our courses into 3 levels of AI use, from learning without AI to designing AI itself. Those who develop and govern AI must be highly self-directed. Only those who are far more proactive and philosophical than before will now take the lead.
Competition for top talent is going global. Bae aims to make KAIST a magnet for top talent from abroad, supported by Korea's strong industrial base.
Strong industries naturally elevate the institutions built around them. If we pair our nation's industrial strength with an AI-focused education system, I believe international students will follow. Programs like dual degrees could make us even more attractive.
Countries worldwide are also eyeing closer cooperation with Korea's academic talent.
I'm very impressed by the seriousness and ambition of the Korean students and institutions. KAIST, I think, is a very important example of this. They have developed cooperation with a number of Swedish institutions. We're looking at fields like AI and science diplomacy over research compilation, and also looking at institutional partnerships.
Bae says Korea's ambition to become the #1 country for AI is within reach, and KAIST is ready to answer the call by taking a leading role.
Korea is well positioned in areas like sovereign AI and physical AI, and the government is ready to push and support that drive. KAIST will keep pace with that momentum, and I'm confident we're ready for the task. Deepening research ties with industry will also be one of my priorities.
Under new leadership, KAIST is betting on strong fundamentals to nurture talent in an age of AI transformation and global tech rivalry. Kim Junong, Arirang News, Daejeon.
When handling civil complaints, public officials often agonize over whether simply following precedent might inadvertently violate other laws and lead to further legal issues down the line. To solve this problem, the government has decided to bring in artificial intelligence. Our Cha Young reports.
We asked an AI legal secretary about the extent of state compensation for casualties caused by natural disasters, which can strike at any time. It instantly identifies the applicable laws and finds relevant past court rulings to provide guidance. Freed from the time-consuming task of reviewing complex laws and precedents, public officials now have more time to actually listen to citizens' grievances. Citizens truly notice the change when seemingly trivial everyday inconveniences are resolved. Public officials have been proactively coming up with ideas to improve citizens' lives. Some of the initiatives driven in this manner include introducing a mobile ID verification system for second-hand transactions, establishing standards for storm drain location indicators, allowing parents to obtain online certificates for their children, and implementing AI-powered one-stop local tax refunds. The use of the AI service developed by public officials is expected to improve public safety and reduce inconveniences across the board. Cha Young, Arirang News.
This is the world now. U.S. CIA Director John Ratcliffe went to Moscow on Tuesday for meetings with Russian officials. The reports did not say who he was meeting or what the talks would cover, but his trip is the first known Moscow visit by an American spy chief since November 2021, when his predecessor met President Vladimir Putin about 3 months before Russia invaded Ukraine. The CIA declined to comment, but the U.S. reportedly asked Ukraine last week to hold off on strikes near Moscow for 3 days this week because a senior U.S. official would be flying in. In the South China Sea, new structures have appeared on a disputed islet. Analysts say China may be building an early warning radar station there. Satellite images taken on August 17th showed the construction on Yagong Island in the Paracel Islands. The image provider said the work began in March and April and that several of the structures resemble military radar facilities seen elsewhere in the South China Sea. Yagong Island sits 14 kilometers from Antelope Reef, where analysts believe China is building a large military base. China has not acknowledged building a base there. In France, a tornado on Monday tore through the village of Poma in the southwest of the country, damaging hundreds of buildings. Dozens of people were hurt, but none are in critical condition. Officials say about 300 of the village's 500 houses were damaged. Some were reduced to rubble, and 100 may no longer be safe to live in. Everyone has been evacuated while inspectors check the buildings. A weather forecaster said winds likely reached 200 kilometers an hour or more. In the United States, country music singer Dolly Parton has died at the age of 80. Her family announced her death on Tuesday. Her publicist said she died peacefully in Nashville. No cause of death was given, but days earlier, Parton said she was dealing with health issues but planned to keep working. Dolly Parton wrote classic songs like Jolene, Coat of Many Colors, and I Will Always Love You. She sold more than 100 million records and won 11 Grammy Awards. Chu Ji-han, Arirang News.
Another hot and humid day is ahead with late summer heat continuing across Korea. Most of the country is still under heat advisories or warnings. In fact, much of the southern provinces will have intense heat, with temperatures hovering above 35 degrees Celsius. The weather pattern will be quite different depending on where you are. The central regions, including Seoul and Gangwon-do province, will see 5 to 30 millimeters of rainfall, while some of southern provinces could see some passing showers, so please keep an umbrella handy. And this afternoon, Seoul and Chuncheon will be getting up to 31 degrees Celsius. Gwangju and Busan at 35, and Daegu and Gyeongju will make it to 36 degrees under sunny skies. And there is some welcome news on the temperature front. After the rain this weekend, the heat should finally lose some of its grip.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.